Hey folks, it's time for a Fireside chat. This is the fall of 2019, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hanson. I want to welcome you guys into my library and by the warm fireside for a chat. I do these chats once in a while for you guys, so we got a few things to talk about. So this morning I had to stay home from work. I got sick yesterday. Last night I came home sick. Got a really scratchy throat and some draining nasals. It's that time of year, but I'm not supposed to go to work in the hospital when I'm sick like this. So I'm taking the day off and just sitting around and relaxing. So it gives me a chance to sit here and have a conversation with my viewers. So I got out this morning to check on the livestock, and we got our first frost up here in the Cascade Ranges. It caused some leaf damage in the garden, so tomorrow I'll be pulling out what got frosted and is no good. But what's to my advantage is I'll be able to use that in the compost, that new compost bin I just built out of those recycled pallets. And then later this week I'll be able to finish the fence around the garden and get that up and done before the snows come. And I'll go ahead and focus on getting the garden cleaned out and cleaned up, and then I'll focus on getting the greenhouse cleaned out and have all that stuff that's leftovers also put in the composting pile. I understand with compost you want to layer it with some browns and greens and other material. You want to sandwich it up doing what they call a lasagna effect, and then that way the microbes have a chance to go through and break all that stuff down. Yeah, this will be one of my first experiences with compost, so I'm learning as I go on homesteading. So far we got a lot done this year. I was able to accomplish much of what I set out to do when I had my first chat of the year in January. I believe we chatted about my goals I wanted to accomplish this year. So we raised the pigs. We've got them sold. I butchered 2 of them. They're in freezer camp right now. So we were able to harvest livestock from the homestead, and now all the freezers are full. I've had to use the freezers in the RVs because our main freezer broke down, and I don't have any plans in the near future of replacing that freezer. I may have second thoughts about it, but we'll see. On livestock, sticking with the livestock, I did want to focus on the bees, and I did get to go down to Orland, California to the bee festival and pick up a colony of Saskatchewan's honeybees and introduce them to my apiary, and those bees have been wonderful. I have been really satisfied with them. So in March, I think it's the next bee festival, I'm going back down to Orland, and I'm bringing back another at least 3 more colonies of bees, queens and worker bees, back and introduce them to the other 3 boxes, and possibly expand my beehives over at where my daughter lives. Now that's a possibility. I haven't really dedicated myself that far yet. Right now I'm just trying to get the infrastructure done on our homestead. The other thing was focusing on the garden. Those are the two main issues, because last year with the barn burning down and us having to focus all of our time and energy and resources on getting the new barn built, we neglected everything else. So this year I chose to focus on the bees and the garden, and I did. I built a good infrastructure on the garden as well as the bees, and got the garden up and going. We're just adding more material and more features in the garden. And I did a lot of experimentation this year in the garden, and had some successes and a lot of failures. The corn was a big failure, and apparently it was a big failure for a lot of people because my corn tasseled too early. It's just what happened in our local climate here. We live in a microclimate. You could drive 5-10 miles in any direction. You got a different climate up in this region. Yeah, it's difficult. A couple of the things I wanted to implement and focus on adding to the homestead this year, and that was developing the water well system, and also repairing the solar system, the off-grid system. Well, I managed to accumulate enough revenue from my viewerships here just by viewing my videos and putting up with the advertisements. That's where I got some revenue to be able to purchase that big 2,500 gallon water tank and add that. Otherwise, I would not have been able to do it because my income is relatively limited and it has to go somewhere else right now because we are getting ready for retirement. And that is one of the features of getting ready for retirement, is getting the well completely self-sustaining, supporting. I've got new features I'll be adding to the well. We'll go ahead and continue developing that. Though the tank is here, it is not hooked up and functional yet. I still have to buy the plumbing, and I want to build a insulated house around it to insulate it from the different temperatures that occur during the different seasons. And also protect it from the sunlight, which eventually breaks down plastics. So hopefully I can get a longer life out of this tank, because this is a serious investment. That way, that way I can go through and get this thing done in place and ready to go. And the other thing was developing or repairing my solar powered. The generator broke down. As you know, I had to replace a stator in it. And again, I was able to accumulate YouTube revenue to be able to purchase a new stator and get it replaced. And I did a series of videos on that. Now the generator is going, and then it broke down again. Oh man, it's frustrating. So the other thing that broke down on the generator is another very costly feature. I don't know why, how, what for it happened. Something in the Nexus computerized controller went kaput, and so I've got to take that thing off. I'm going to take it open and see if it's just a simple little cheap component to buy and solder in there, or if I have to replace the whole controller. But I do have a backup generator. I have a second generator which is in the shed. It's a 5,000 watt generator, and we've had that one for years. And that's what we were carried around with us when we were homeless. We at least had some intermittent power for us to charge batteries and live on when we were homeless, living here, there, and everywhere, wherever we could find to park the trailer. But anyway, I'm taking that generator and I'll be converting it to propane instead of gasoline and installing it up on the well. And so that generator will be a backup generator for power in the back part of the property, and also for running the well in case the other big one fails again. So, yeah, I don't know if it's my fault or if it's just the age of the equipment of why that generator is doing what it's doing. But we're trying to get things going and getting things repaired. Another feature I was able to do is, as you know, last month I shot a video on how much my channel grew for that month. because of one video, how a poor man can buy cheap property. Apparently, YouTube decided to promote that video. Well, they promoted it so much, I got the most views I'd ever gotten in my life. In 2 weeks, they generated enough revenue to be able to add another feature to our homestead this year, which was on my plan to add for my retirement plan, and that was a propane tank. So I found a fellow who sells new propane tanks and rebuilt propane tanks, and I was able to earn enough to purchase a 1,000 gallon propane tank, plus rent a trailer to go over and pick it up and bring it back. And also, I earned enough revenue on another month to be able to buy all the gas lines and the first stage and second stage regulators. I even purchased an earthquake shutoff valve, and that will be being installed here in the next month. So we'll be able to have at least a 3-year supply of propane on hand here on the homestead to be able to supply us. And I talked to a propane dealer, and he's able to deliver it for a significant reduced cost than what I could go down to the store and buy it for. I think it's $1.97 down the street here, which is the cheapest in town. But I got a quote from a local dealer. He will deliver 800 gallons, because you can't fill those tanks totally full. You have to leave. You can only fill them 80%. So I can get 800 gallons, and he quoted me $1.60 a gallon. So that's pretty good. I just have to come up with the money now for the propane. So that's another effort. But that's down the road. We don't have to worry about that right now. It's just getting the tanks in place and getting them installed, hooked up, inspected, and making sure everything's copacetic, legal, and above board. So much I've been to be able to accomplish this year alone on the homestead. Just doing it, whittling away at it primarily as the funds permit. I don't always make that much money on YouTube. It's just like, so don't quit your day job if you have a good week, because it will go away, and you go plummet back down. You start making significantly less is what we're doing now. So, but we still make enough to be able to at least make the payment on the land. Not so much so lately for adding the property taxes annually, and also the insurance. So that has to come out of pocket. Yeah, so that's it. I'll be in my next talk, I'll be talking about what my plans for the future are for next year. I'll set my goals for next year, and we'll figure those out. I'll announce them in January. And oh yeah, the gal who's been raising the goats, and I'm going to be buying them from her, they'll be ready on Friday, so I get to go pick out my 2 Nubian yearlings. They'll be does, and if they're in season, I'll go ahead and pay and have her breed them while they're there, and then I'll bring them back over to the farm and get them set up in the barn. In the meantime, while I'm on staycation this next week and a half, I'm going to go ahead and make sure the barn's ready and finish my fence and get some gravel hauled in, and try to get that at least the lines in and buried for when the propane bottle comes. That won't come for probably the 22nd or 23rd of October, which is in about 2 or 3 weeks. We'll see. Well, that's all I have for you guys on this episode of a Fireside Chat. It's usually a porch swing chat, but it's just a little bit too cold outside to sit out there, especially when I have a cold and a sore throat. I'm going to go ahead and go do some painting. I'll paint like I'll paint something like not necessarily like what Bob Ross paints. I can't paint like Bob Ross. I have to paint like Jerry Hanson. But I'll make my best effort. I haven't decided what I want to paint or what medium I want to use yet. Maybe acrylic. Do my very second acrylic painting. We'll see. I'm your host, Jerry Hanson. This is Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this little fireside chat. Please stay tuned to more videos. You could do that by simply subscribing, clicking that bell icon. That will alert you to new videos as I do upload them. You can also help out the channel by giving me a thumbs up and also sharing your comments down below. I enjoy reading your comments and I try to get back to you guys in a timely manner. Another way you can help out the channel is simply by clicking that share button and sharing our videos on your social media platforms. Speaking of social media, you can follow me on social media. I currently upload to Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Reddit, Blogger. I upload to Tumblr, Parlor.com, and LinkedIn. But under Facebook, on all those, I'm under Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. But under Facebook, I'm under Jerry Hanson. So check me out there. We'll see you guys in the next video. It's hunting season. Bye bye.